It's an extra specially depressing show this week as the Megacanners are joined by Mohammad Etebari, Iranian in Berlin. Mo explains what it was like growing up in a theocratic police state and what it's been like being an Iranian outside Iran these last couple of weeks. Mass murder on the streets, torture and internet blackout, and what European countries could be doing about it. Cheers, I guess.
In Berlin's heart, where news is unveiled, Megan and Conrad with German tales. The German news, it's tough to bear, but with Megacanners, they're ready to repair. Conrad, daily news at hand. Megan feels to spare time to crack those cans. With each sip she takes, the Meg is her shield, but will it last anew? 'Cause that was the deal.
Hello everyone, it's time for another episode of Megan's Megacan. I'm here in Berlin with Conrad Werner. Hello Conrad.
Hello.
And special guest time, our first guest of 2026. I'm delighted. It is a friend of the podcast, I think, and also just general friend, Mohammad Etebari. Hello, Mo. How are you?
Hi, I'm very good. Long-time fan. Glad to be here. For me, it's surreal being here. It's kind of like walking into my phone.
I love this. And I asked you how I wanted to, you wanted me to introduce you, kind of professionally, so to speak. But politics, journalism and things is not your background, but you are Iranian and therefore a concerned citizen. So you wanted to come on and talk to us. I was thinking of inviting you, but I was also like, do you just reach out to the one Iranian person you know and go, can you come and speak about your trauma, please, on our podcast? But why are you, as like an economics graduate, from what I understand, not a journalist?
Yeah,
why are you here?
I would self-identify as an economic nerd. First of all, no, I think for me this is very therapeutic. Right? We sort of need to start talking about it also as a way of handling the trauma that every Iranian is going through right now. And I think for a very long time, talking about Iran, talking about the situation there was for Iranians outside of Iran still sort of a political topic. Like we were feeling like, am I that kind of person who talks about it? Am I politically active? Am I a citizen activist or not? And we are starting to cross that line where this is not about politics anymore.
No.
This is about people, getting killed, human rights being on a daily basis at horrendous rates, being ignored. So I sort of feel like every Iranian in the world now would label themselves citizen activists, would label themselves, politicians, sort of, or citizen journalists.
And you've been living in Berlin for how long exactly?
Since 2010.
Okay.
I came here to study, so I did my master's in economics here.
Right.
I moved to Germany quite late, so I was like 28 years old.
And how was the last?
We need alcohol.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Go on. We're
going to talk about it now. How many Megacans have you had in your life, Mo?
Ooh, this is a good question. I know. I have a question. What constitutes a Megacan?
They have to be 10% alcohol.
I've had a few.
Okay. Good.
More than I can count.
We're having a classic. We haven't done this for a while. We're going Jack Daniels and ginger.
Oh, yeah, good.
Conrad's favourite.
There you go.
Also very good. Oh, we're passing them round. That's good. I don't have to.
Lovely.
Okay.
All right. It's very fancy.
Are you familiar with this one?
My greengrocer always calls ginger. He says, you need some antibiotics. Whenever I buy ginger, he goes, you good to get some antibiotics in you.
Oh, this is very good. So we're having a medicinal Megacan. A balm for what ails us. All right. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
That is a good one.
Haven't had that for ages.
No, we haven't. It's tasting almost nostalgic. I'm sorry.
We've been experimenting
that's on
too
me,
much.
Conrad.
We've been experimenting.
Enough of that. Let's just have these.
Okay.
Okay. You are 28. You come to Germany. What was that like?
Oh, God. Culture shock for sure. I think Germany is very different. I grew up in Iran under very strict religious law. I think in Iran, every Iranian knows this very strange feeling of living a double life. One official one that you live on the street where there are, very strict rules and how you're supposed to behave. And then one that you live inside your home where everybody lives a very modern and pretty Western life. So everybody parties, everybody drinks, but nobody talks about it on the street because you're not allowed to. And coming from there to Germany, I had my first culture shock moment at the airport as I entered the country with my then girlfriend, now wife, and I kissed her in the taxi, and I was like, holy crap, this is a new life now. Now I can do this.
Wow.
I can live a free life. So it was very interesting and surreal place.
And what is it that, because there are a lot of, what were you saying, Conrad, how many?
There are about 300,000 people of Iranian extraction in Germany.
And
that's
more...
I got my fact in early, that's good.
Very good.
That's as of 2022.
You were saying that people have, a lot of Iranian people live outside of Iran for relatively obvious reasons, but there's been like waves. And so what pushed you to come to?
I think there has been like multiple moments in Iranian modern history where people felt like they really need to immigrate from Iran. One was obviously 1979 when the Islamic Revolution happened. I think a lot of Iranians felt like their identity doesn't match with what is happening there. And they were scared for very good reason, because immediately after there were thousands of people being executed just for their, very simple lives being connected to the previous government and the kingdom. After that, a war happened between Iran and Iraq, yet another round of immigration. So there were many moments of people leaving Iran. Brain drain is a term that Iranians are very familiar with. But after that was sort of like a very gradual, let's say, grind for many of Iranians where they didn't want to leave. And I am one of those people. Never imagined leaving the country. But then at some point you feel like, do I want to be ethically? Do I want to be associated with this government because they run 80% of the economy? Do I want to be a part of them? Do I want to be associated with it? And can I make a good career and living in Iran? And that sort of like pushed me outside. I want to have a better life.
So you studied economics in Iran as well?
I studied engineering. I did industrial engineering there.
And what would have been your options if you just stayed in Iran? Could you have done?
So you could at that point, hypothetically, have a normal life, like join a company. So I was working for a foreign company actually at that point, a German company as fate have it. And that would give me a normal, okay life. But I was starting to feel like, then what? Like, what can I do? And with all of the restrictions on your life, on freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, on right to be protected, on so many of these simple things that when you live in Europe, you completely forget that you have them. Maybe not these days in Berlin, but but I think in general, you sort of like take it for granted and you don't have it in Iran. You have very, very basic rights are completely ignored on daily basis. And that sort of made me think like, man, maybe I need something more, better in my life.
And you decided to study economics here. Well, why did you come to Germany? What made you think Germany?
I was working for a German company.
Okay.
That was sort of my connection. But at the same time, strangely enough, after coming here, I really felt like as if I was always German at my heart. Like it was so far away from how I was living in Iran.
Yeah.
And it was everything that I wanted and everything that the opposite of what I hated when I was living there. Okay. So it was a very good fit. I did not know it before I come here.
Okay. But
it became sort of like a very good match afterwards. What made me think of Germany was better life, good economy working, free country, accepting of sort of like immigrants. Those are sort of like first thoughts that come to someone.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is
And then you studied here. Since you left, there have been these different waves of protests happening. I think you said 6 different waves of protests going on, and they've been getting bigger and bigger, but then the crackdowns have been becoming more and more brutal until in the last couple of weeks, at least 5,000 people have been killed on the streets. Some estimates go up to 18,000. 5,000, I think, although we don't know. And there have been at least 25,000 arrests. How have you experienced the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, this has been some of the most horrific days of, I think, every Iranian outside of Iran. We feel stuck for many different reasons. I think every Iranian feels like this is bittersweet, because on the one hand, you sort of have always wanted change in Iran. Every Iranian wants change since God knows how long ago. And everybody feels like when something big is about to happen, of course, there has to be, big events like this. So that part is a little bit sweet. We're all hopeful. At the same time, I mean, any number that is bigger than 5,000, estimates go to 18,000, 20,000, some go even higher. Any number that big, it's chilling. That many of my people dying for wanting basic things. I mean, their hopes and dreams are not, revolutionary, but they need a revolution to get very simple things. And we all went through all of the stages of grief, and we're sort of in this moment now where we all becoming active, or we need to do something. We're all feeling stuck out here. We cannot really go there or do something about it. And we're hoping to be sort of like the voice of the Iranian people and do as much as we can about it.
And it's also, there's this sort of media, internet communication blackout, which must be just, like you said, you're having to speak on behalf of the Iranian people because they can't. We're not hearing. It's very, very difficult for anyone to know exactly what's happening.
16 days, no internet, no phone communication. The regime is being very brutal about how they are handling this round of protests. Since 2009, this is the 6th time people are going on the street protesting, and every time things escalate. Things are bigger scale, bigger scope, more people on the street. And this time, people have managed to really create a coalition of everyone. I mean, typically in the past, there were students in the university, or maybe sometimes, ethnic minorities are starting something, the Kurds, or, people in the south. This time, it is everyone.
Yeah.
They have managed somehow to piss off everybody.
Right. I read somewhere that this thing with the people in the bazaar, the merchants in the bazaar, were started it because there was this problem with the currency.
Yes.
Lost all its value. The rial lost all its value, and that's kind of how that started. And then people were saying, I don't know, Iran analysts that you see on the German Iran saying that this is significant because that's how the 1979 revolution started. It also started through this bazaar. How did you feel about that? Is that true? Like, is that significant?
So, through these rounds of protests in the past couple of years, every time something sparks the protests, but in reality there are a lot of issues underneath. So I think there are 3 main topics that creates a huge gap between Iranian people and the government or the regime, the Islamic regime. Ideology is the first one. I mean, I think there's like fundamentally a huge difference between how people of Iran what people of Iran want, how they are thinking, and what the regime wants, how they are oppressing them. I brought a couple of quotes from German politicians. Kaveh Mansouri, who's a VP in the SPD, he said in an interview he has never seen a bigger gap or a struggle between a people's aspiration for freedom and the government's action. I think this last protest, the one before this, back in 2021, with sort of like a slogans of woman, life, freedom, that really showed how different they are, because this is a regime that is constantly undermining rights of women. And people got on the street and they were basically saying all we want is rights for women. All we want is freedom for them to express themselves however they want to wear whatever they want. I mean, these are very simple things that they want, but they don't have these back in Iran. And majority of Iranians are not religious people. They are spiritual, but they are not religious people per se. But they have to live this double life.
Okay.
And I think these ideology differences has always been one layer of this underneath the protests. Second one is, of course, always economy. Economy is always one of the things that pisses people off, right? So this time there was a spark in the Grand Bazaar of Tehran. Where
What is this? What is this Grand Bazaar? What is?
It is sort of like whatever if you have ever been to Istanbul or like one of these like big sort of like Eastern cities, then you always have this gigantic market.
Right. So it's a real market.
Oriental, yes.
Yeah, okay.
But it is not only for spices and rice, but like they really do all sorts of business.
Right. Okay.
Right? Including foreign exchange, etc. And I think
is it a powerful lobby? Is it like a very powerful group of people?
Yes, very powerful group of people. This is a moment that feels for a lot of Iranians very nostalgic. Not only because the previous revolution that happened in Iran, the Islamic Revolution, happened also starting from the bazaar, but also because in a very strange way, that revolution happened and the kingdom of Pahlavi, which was the previous regime in Iran, ended. And now all people want is for them to be back. In hindsight, they were like, well, they weren't bad at all. Maybe we made a mistake.
Oh yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you. I didn't want to bring it in so early, but what about this guy in America, the son of the Shah?
Yeah.
And apparently they've been used. Like some people on the streets have been using his name, like chanting his name and having it on placards. And he's been quite active in the media. What do you think about this guy? Would he be a credible leader? He wants to be a transitional leader. He says. Would he be a credible leader for Iran?
I think he has proven his credibility by this point.
Okay.
I think he has spent a lot of time. He's 60 years old and he has spent a lot of his time in exile. And he has proven that what he wants really is a transition into a democracy. Whatever his role is going to be afterwards, that's something Iranian people are going to have to decide. But I think at this point, what gives Iranians all over the world goosebumps is that we finally have an opposition. For a revolution to really happen, we needed somebody to stand up and say, just be behind me. It doesn't even matter if you believe in what's going to happen afterwards. It doesn't even matter if you want a kingdom afterwards or not. All that matters is that we need a leader. And now we have one, and he is a credible one. People all over the world, here in Europe, in America, inside Iran, chanting his name. I think that gives him credibility, at least to say, I am leading a revolution.
And is this new for this one? Was this also a thing that happened in 2021 with this guy, or is it sort of just amplified now?
No. So he has always been a very popular figure among Iranians, especially Iranians outside, who really reminisce about, sort of like the good old times. And they have a lot to reminisce, to be honest. I mean, we are talking about an Iran that in the 60s and 70s had an economy that was number 25 in GDP per capita in the world. And it is 132 right now. Jesus Christ, that's a fall. A fall from graces. It had 9% for 15 years, an average of 9% economic growth under him under his father as the king.
Yeah.
And it went from that to like under 2% almost immediately, and it stayed like that throughout this regime. Even if we only look at
population has exploded, I was hearing today. It's like
exactly
3 times as much. So
this is, I mean, even if I look at it with my economic nerd sort of like point of view only, there is a lot to reminisce about when it comes to him and his family.
Yeah, even without all the other fucking shit they're pulling.
Exactly.
They're doing a shit job on the...
And then the third thing is, you mentioned that every time it escalates.
Yeah.
So through these rounds of protests, every time it got worse, and I think this accumulates in the memory of the people. Like every time we are just like walking further and further from having any sort of peaceful resolution with this regime.
Yeah, the crackdowns have escalated as much as the protests themselves. Yeah.
And there must come a point where crackdowns stop being deterrents, because you're just like, well, fuck this, because things are just continuing to get worse and worse. And like you say, this slow grind gives people the motivation to do these incredibly brave things, to keep going out in the street despite the fact that it's going to be horrifically repressed.
Absolutely. And they know. The Islamic regime knows somehow how much trouble they are in, and you can see it in how they are behaving. 16 days they cut off communication. I have no idea if my father is alive.
Oh my.
It's that level, and I am not alone. I mean, we are talking about 300,000, probably more Iranians who have families in Iran, and we have no way of communicating them. And they say, call the embassy and they will call your family and let you know. Like, what kind of life is this?
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
And you can't really call the embassy because that's the regime, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of...
It's like, yeah, if we relied on you for news, you'd just turn the fucking internet back on, like plug in it, and it's so...
It is such a bizarre situation.
So anyway, can you say something about the Iranian economy as an economics nerd?
Yeah.
This is interesting. as your specialist subject. So what was the Iranian economy before? And
what is the Iranian economy?
Good question.
What do you make?
So it used to be very diverse before the Islamic Revolution. Obviously, I'm being very abstract when I say that after that it has heavily become only about oil. So it is now 90% of the GDP of Iran comes through oil export, and they have no plans of diversifying that. They have no ways of sort of like making the situation any better, nor do they have any way of maintaining that industry that actually gives them most of the income in a way that is decent. So they have the third biggest oil reserves in the world after Saudi and Venezuela. One of the reasons is that they cannot get the oil out. And that's not only because of sanctions, because they obviously have a lot of ways of escaping sanctions through China, proxy companies, shadow fleets. They have all sorts of ways of getting out of the sanctions, but they are just so incompetent and so bad at running a country. After 47 years, we still have very basic problems in infrastructure.
The water supply is a big issue, isn't it?
You're right.
Yeah, I heard that there's like a lot of Iranian towns are running out of water quite regularly.
The capital.
Yeah.
With, I don't know, right now, probably more than 20 million people living there, constantly ran out of water and electricity through a summer, which was one of the hottest summers we have ever had there, when temperature gets to like more than 50 degrees. Wow. It was really like hard life.
Yeah.
And they have, again, funniest stories out of Iran, which sound surreal when you talk about it in Europe. They have a schedule for when electricity goes out. So they will tell you like on Tuesdays from this hour to that hour, and everybody has it printed in their homes.
Really?
Almost every home in Iran, in let's say middle to affluent neighborhoods, they have water pumps and reserves. Because everybody knows like there is no water. So you have to sort of like maintain yourself. Mm-hmm. So economy is really in shambles, and it is due to many factors, but many of those factors relate to how the regime does not trust anyone to do anything inside Iran. So they run everything. 40 to 50% of GDP or economic outcome, let's go there first, is directly managed by IRGC.
Okay, IRGC, just a little
that
explanation. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Exactly. So basically, what the hell are they?
Yeah.
They sound fun.
They are all of
the greatest words.
Exactly. They are all of the worst things that you can imagine.
Okay.
So what they are is basically, when the Islamic regime took over, they basically said there is an army, but we don't trust them. So let's create other arms, which we can trust. So they have created two. There is a Basij, which is basically people volunteering. Not really. They were made to volunteer for war because immediately after Islamic Revolution, war happened. And then there was a second one, which is the IRGC, this guard. And their literal slogan is, I shed you not, to protect the supreme leader and his interest. There is nothing.
That sounds fine.
So
what could
go wrong? It's huge. So according to Wikipedia, it's 125,000 people are in the IRGC.
It is a very scary.
What? Sorry?
125,000 personnel.
Yes.
That's a lot.
They are gigantic.
Yeah.
What makes them scary is not the size. It's one, brutality. When these guys come in on the street, it is a scary moment. Everybody feels it. They don't know. They are not always coming out. So this time, this protest started on December 28th, and they did not come out until January 5th. And you really felt it in the news because December 28th, there were protests and we were getting videos and everybody was happy and protesting, peaceful protesting, a little bit of like throwing stones, but like normal. And then these guys come out and just, it gets horrendous. Like they are shooting with live ammunition directly at crowd with machine guns from the back of Toyota Cruise Landers. Like this is stuff out of movies that you never see. I brought like videos on Instagram that people have posted, which like credible news institutions geolocated it and like proved that this actually is what it is saying. It is like straight out of like movies from.
And that's new. Is that new, or has that happened before? Is that like
the extent?
Level? Okay.
The extent is new.
Right.
I think it has always been that these guys. Okay, we talked about it before we start the podcast. Do I want to tell a little bit of my background, the story, and maybe I tell you like tidbits here and there as it fits to the story. And one of them is this: I went to a high school in Iran, where the guy who was the principal was actually an intelligence officer of the IRGC.
Oh,
as a side job. Why did I do that? It's because that was the best high school I could go to, because I want to go to the best university. So like get good education, you need to go under this kind of people. Ethical conundrums. Because you need to really ask yourself, like, do I want to continue with these kind of people or not? And he literally told me once in personal conversations that you little kids, you think that you can be angry at the supreme leader. You think, when we come in, when the big boys come in, we will control the streets. That's their mentality. That's how they think. And with that, they actually act. So if they have to shoot people, they will. They have no hesitation. To them, we are ants. If they have to get rid of them, they will do it by any means necessary. I hear horrific anecdotal evidence. Things people are telling now, you know, in phone calls, posts on Instagram, and they are unbelievable, of mothers who were told, your son was killed, come give the government 2,000 euros as a fine to get your kid's body back. She paid, went to the cemetery, and there were thousands of bodies in body bags just lying on the street, just sometimes on top of each other, and they told her, go find your son. This, when we say brutality, like it's at a level that is unbelievable. This is what makes these people scary. The second thing that makes them really scary is that they own the economy. They are not just an army. They have, since 20 years ago, started to heavily go into economy and all of the other aspects of the government. I have the exact number. Let me not say that off the top of my head because I don't want to say it wrong. 17% of the GDP of Iran every year is the budget for the IRGC.
Okay.
I don't know a country. This is on top of what the army gets, by the way. So this is not everything that they spend on arms.
So this is like basically an internal army or something.
Yes.
This is like there's an army just to police the people.
They have an intelligence arm inside IRGC, which is not just active in Iran, by the way. They are active here.
So there are like Iranian spies around the world. Yeah.
They have Iranian spies everywhere.
Yeah.
The BFV, Office of Protection for the Constitution.
Yeah, the Verfassungsschutz.
Verfassungsschutz, genau. These guys have said that there have been hundreds of cases of pressure being reported by Iranians who live in Germany, being harassed by goons of IRGC.
Jesus.
This is, I mean, these guys are really serious. Deutsche Welle reported this also, by the way, that there are hundreds of cases, people being intimidated. And every Iranian in Germany have seen these people.
Yeah. How do you recognize them? How do you know?
It's by the way that they behave.
Okay.
There was a demonstration last week on Saturday, and I went there. I missed the one this week, but there was a walk on Kudam. And we were walking, and you can see thousands of people are walking with me. I think the official report was like, 15,000 people in total. And this is happening all over Germany. But in Berlin, I really saw them because I was walking and people were shouting and screaming and, saying slogans. And there was this guy walking like 10 meters from me. He has a little beard and he's walking very slowly with a phone, filming the crowd. He never shouted anything. He's not angry. He's very calm. And he's looking around and watching. And you just know who this is. I mean, I cannot prove it, obviously, and I'm never going to confront somebody like this. But you sort of have this feeling, this sick feeling in your stomach of like they are always there. Conspiracy theory is a big part of Iranian.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't know. I can't imagine what it'd be like to live in that kind of state, like a state like that, and it's like a police state.
Yes,
it's
gives you paranoia.
For sure. It's like a But so we've got all of these Iranian people living in Germany, and people are saying to the Verfassungsschutz, like, these lads are just, harassing us. Why is Germany, and we don't know exactly what's happening in Iran right now, but it's pretty clear that it's not good. This is a regime turning on its own people, and as an international community, and Germany has like a big, what have we done apart from making some speeches going, this is bad?
This speech, the rhetoric is not nothing. I think that has given Iranians a little bit of hope. That is still, I still appreciate it. I think people like Hannah Neumann in the European Parliament, when she talks about Iran and she's constantly pushing, she's an MEP of Germany, I want to say Grune.
Okay.
But she's constantly pushing and trying to sort of like make the European Parliament act and do something, kicking out, banning the Islamic Republic politicians from the building of the European Parliament, trying now to list IRGC as a terrorist organization, like very obvious things that should have happened. At least they are talking about it. That's a movement.
Yeah, that thing. So I was looking into that. The IRGC is designated as a terrorist organization by, amongst other countries, Australia, Canada, the United States, Sweden, Saudi Arabia, but not the European Union.
Yeah.
And what difference would that make? Would that would that make a big difference if that was done? Because that means, I guess, if they were designated, like, people could be arrested in Germany.
This is a part. I think people being arrested is a huge part of it. I think designating an organization as terrorist would give them a lot of leverage to get rid of shadow organizations that these guys have outside, and they have many. Between January and May 2025, this last year, Germany, under all of the sanctions that we think they have on Iran, still made 500 million euros goods exchanged. This is not a...
What?
Yeah. This is not a hopeless fight. There are obvious things we can do.
And what goods are they exchanging?
Yeah, everything. Okay. I think we think that because there are sanctions that the regime in Iran does not do business. They do a lot of business with the world. Otherwise, how can they operate? And some of it, they do shady business, of course, through like cryptocurrencies. There was a report from an organization that does sort of like look into the cryptocurrencies, and they saw like more than $1 billion a year movement from the government of Iran on cryptocurrencies. So they mostly go after like stable coins and things like this. But it's not an impossible task to say we want to stop these very obvious escapes. The other thing is they have shadow fleets. So they have oil tankers that go under many different flags. These are very well known. They would not be able to operate unless European insurance companies insure them. And of course they do, because that oil somehow ends up being used, in the West. And we just somehow, our politicians have decided we don't want to stop it.
I'm just looking at.
I'm sorry, I bummed you guys out.
No, it's fine. It's just the general.
I'm trying to find out. I'm just googling what Germany buys from Iran. Apparently, pistachio nuts.
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
That can't be 500 million.
It can't be 500 million. Like, German cuisine is not that reliant on pistachio. But is there not also, like, is there other stuff that we could be doing? Because I get the sanctions argument, but is there not also the argument that, like, sanctions are just going to further hurt, like, the Iranian people and not really, like, this regime is going to keep, you know, eating its own... I don't, like... Surely...
You're right. You're right. We are starting to really be out of ideas. How can you do this? We can
go get that lad out of Venezuela, and we can't do anything about Iran. That makes no sense to me.
I found a really interesting study that was looking into why is it that Germany is not active about Iran. So there's a professor in the University of Bonn who is called, I'm trying to find his name so that I don't say that off the top of my head.
I'm very impressed with your very extensive notes.
Yeah, he's got them all printed out and everything.
I haven't
typed them out.
It's amazing. Really showing us up here as we
if I can't
just, like,
find
Google
it.
Stuff.
If I can't find it, then all of that those notes would be useless. So he did really huge studies on why is it that Germany is not acting, and he basically found out that the root cause is twofold. One is economy.
Yeah.
We still have ties with Iran, whether we like it or not. And because IRGC actually is a huge part of that, they really don't like to cut this off. It would be very disruptive. And because of that, it's not very popular in Germany. It is now heavily in the rhetoric that we should do that. I mean, we have many politicians with Iranian roots, like Mr. Nouripour, who is in the Grüne. We have Mr. G. Sarai, who is from the FDP, and also Reza Asghari, who is from the CDU. They all have Iranian roots. They all understand the struggle, so they are speaking out. They are trying to sort of like make a difference, but this connection is very hard to break. And the second reason is Germany has been stuck when it comes to their policy towards countries like Iran between pragmatism and human rights protection, and they are always selecting a non-interventionist approach as a policy because that's the easiest route. Just don't do anything, leave it to the people, leave it to other powers, let them do it. We can talk a big game, but never do anything.
I mean, I did read this analysis piece in the Taz, which was saying what could Europe and Germany do. She basically wrote that they could fund these sort of civil society organizations more directly, like Iranian civil society organizations. They could help those kinds of organizations get internet connectivity into Iran. So they said there was and they could work more actively with those civil society organizations rather than just listening to them. They could actually go to them and sort of work with them more directly and fund them. And
absolutely. I think with the opposition of the Islamic regime, there could be a lot done. In all honesty, I mean, we have had like opposition leaders for a very long time. It is the first time in the history of Germany they actually invited one of them on German TV. So Reza Pahlavi, the Crown Prince of Iran, he was invited to speak on Tagesschau and on ZDF. And like give them just a microphone would be a starting point. Like let them pitch in what is it that they want for a country like this. If we have this much vested interest, I mean, Germany and Iran have like very strong ties when it comes to cultural exchanges, economy obviously, but like all sorts of other aspects of life are very intertwined. Just give the opposition a voice, hear them out, help them, stand behind them. Constantly, Germany finds ways of not doing this, and sometimes for very strange ideological reasons. So I heard one argument the other day on this program where they were talking to Reza Pahlavi, and they were saying, you know, he's not very popular. People are shouting his name only because they want to piss off, you know, the Islamic regime. Like, what a weird reason not to hear a guy out, not to listen to his argument, to say, you're not actually popular. He is actually, by the way. But what a strange way of finding a way out of talking to him by just saying they just want to piss off the mullahs. That's why they shout your name.
It's an unnecessary way to sort of sow division. I mean, what's the point? Like, just ask him.
Yes.
It's not going to see.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a UN fact-finding mission and a UN special rapporteur on human rights in Iran, and the EU could work more closely with this. They could coordinate more closely with this and help provide and use platforms to transmit evidence. And also Germany has this principle of universal jurisdiction.
Yes.
You know about this, about the so a couple of years ago, a Syrian was prosecuted in Germany for carrying out torture in Syria.
I remember this, yeah.
And that so Germany has this. So even though a crime is committed by a non-German in a non-German country, well, all like other countries that are not German, any other country, there is those
outside Germany.
Outside Germany. They can still be prosecuted in Germany.
Yeah.
So potentially, if you you could arrest Iranian officials if they travel outside Iran and have them deported to Germany, and they would have to stand trial, in principle, for carrying out, torture and death penalties and stuff like that, executions.
I'll tell you another one of those anecdotes at the expense of us all having to drink even more.
Okay.
There's
I've still got enough alcohol to get me through more of it.
Underage kid, under 18 years old, goes to one of these protests and gets shot. Does not die, but he's on the street. So they find him, and they don't know that he's not dead. He plays dead. So they put him in a body bag and bring him to the pile of body bags. They leave them in a warehouse for 2 days, and he hears outside the soldiers coming in. He just continues to play dead and stays somehow like under what I can only imagine horrific conditions, as he's bleeding and almost dead. He somehow stays and hears them bringing half-dead protesters and executing them on the spot. Like people shouting as they are being dragged into the warehouse and being shot. It's impossible to verify these stories, but there are so many of them coming out.
But it's evidence, yeah. I mean, his testimony is evidence, right? I mean,
there must. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but this must be against a dozen laws in the world. It should be easy for European Union to find evidence. Even if they are looking on the surface, it should be easy to do that. Yet, Spain, Italy, they are standing against European Union doing anything against Iran. Like, despite proof being there, they are always saying, there are legal challenges. How could we even prove this? There has to be such a strong case against it that it would stand in court. Otherwise, we will be challenged here and there. But this lack of action, people are dying and they are playing politics.
It's so depressing. Because, if you think of very recent history and the ways in which we have justified intervention in that part of the world, but it doesn't seem to be in our interest, particularly.
It is really interesting how the opinion of Iranian people have developed over the years on the topic of external intervention. This was not popular in Iran.
And I can... good reason, arguably.
We have had our share of it in the past.
The nose full, as the Germans would say. Yeah.
by all sorts of countries. This, I mean, to really understand Iran, like you need to sort of like look into its history and see like where did it come from. Like it was a kingdom 2,500 years old, and you come from that, and they have somehow managed to maintain some sort of identity despite being brutally attacked and sort of like being undermined, and their culture being killed by all sorts of invasions of Arabs and Mughals and everyone. And despite all of that, they still kept some sort of identity. And then 1979 happens, and like that's taken hostage. Like every Iranian feels like my country is a hostage now by a regime that I have nothing in common with. And we have fought tooth and nail to change stuff. I was a student when there was a mini revolution by the students of Iran who were saying, let us change things from inside. We don't want a revolution. All we want is like a small civil liberties. Just like give us a little bit so that we can work with you. We don't want you to be toppled. Let us just work. And they brutally, I mean, I get goosebumps every time I'm thinking about it. Like they went into dormitories of universities and they threw students out of buildings because they were trying to intimidate like everybody else to just shut up. It was horrific. So we did that. We did the part where like we just went on the street and got killed. We did that and it's not working. So if you ask an Iranian right now, like, do you want US to come do an intervention? They're like, fuck. Like, yes. You know what? Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
but
whatever gets these guys out.
And now we're all going to stand around and be like, oh, well, you know, external intervention hasn't really worked. I'm like, it's fucking different if we're just going in to secure, like, context is fucking decisive, and we love pretending that it doesn't matter, and we can all sit around and be like, oh well, you know how external intervention went in Iran before, that's the whole reason they have the fucking and I'm like, no, fuck you. If people are saying, oh, we wouldn't actually mind you going in and toppling this regime for us and then giving us our country back, cool. But we're like, no.
I think we're out of ideas.
Yeah.
Iranians are really like, right now we're all feeling powerless.
Must just be like horrific. I can't.
Whatever works.
Oh God.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else on your notes that you've not mentioned yet? So I've run out of questions. Have you got any more questions?
No,
okay. You did send me some questions that you were going to answer, but I didn't ask them yet.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of talked about IRGC and like, why is it not getting...
Yeah, but you said something about the AFD. Why is AFD stuck in a paradox of anti-Islamic versus anti-intervention?
This is the funniest part. Because
so what's the story with the AFD in Iran?
Typically, you hear sort of like an Islamic regime and everybody would immediately think like, oh, the right is going to help. Maybe once they are actually useful.
Yeah, I was saying, Germany fucking hates Islam. Why aren't we all guns blazing in there?
This is the funny part. I mean, even the AFD is now struggling internally to even make a statement on this.
Right.
God.
Aren't you guys anti-Islam? Like, there is an Islamic regime.
It's
attack
the
them.
Uber is like, you cannot get more Islam than this.
Like, they are so, like, they have always been useless, but like particularly useless now on Iran, because they are now, half of them are saying, oh no, but we are not, intervention, you know, outside of Germany is not our thing.
Okay.
Leave them do whatever they need to do. Half of them are saying, yeah, but like, look, Muslim bad, we need to do something. So they are also very funny.
And what about you said you had a question here about how much can the relatively large community of Iranian immigrants shape the debate in Germany? What's the... I mean, you talked about it a little bit already, but what are the other Iranian people in Germany that you know? What are they talking about? What are they saying?
There's a large community. One largest community of Iranians in Europe is definitely in Germany. Mm-hmm. There are very historical reasons behind that. Iranians feel really kinship with Germans.
That's... because you sort of said this before, which was surprising.
Yeah.
Sitting in Germany, and why is that? Like,
this goes really deep, and it also goes to like where Iranians came from and like the original tribes, and there are some very strong ties in the long history of Iran with like the tribes that came to Germany. And out of that, I mean, even if you go to culture, Goethe wrote like poems about an Iranian poet. Like, there are really strange moments where these cultures have met and they tied really strongly together.
I was hearing that around the time that like they were really vying for in the Second World War, where Iran was being vied for between kind of various powers, that there was a lot of Germans there.
Is this from your podcast that you've been listening to?
Yeah, I thought that I would go and get but like I think knowing history of things is very important. And like, obviously my role in this podcast is to be like, I don't know anything about Germany, like, and also I don't really care, because Germany will tell you and they have the voice to tell me, and I'm here. But coming from another country where when you say it, people have like you hear Iran now and you're like, oh, and you hear Northern Ireland, certainly like 10, 20 years ago, and they'll be like, oh, there's a nuance and a complexity there, and I think it's important to...
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's fascinating. But this Iranian German, I love it that you came here and were like, oh yeah, this is, I belong here, this is great.
Well, there's a lot of economic ties from the Shah times.
Yes.
There was a lot of German companies had factories in Iran.
Exactly. So if you go, like in Iran, in Germany, if you find a German community of Iranians and you throw a stone, it's going to hit like a couple of doctors on its way, because they all came from Iran and they are all obsessed with education. Every Iranian family is sort of like this typical, like they push their kids and to become the best and go to the best university, and if you're not a doctor, you're a failure. And so that sort of like overachieving of Iranians in Germany has created very, very strong ties, because Germans are also, at least the previous generations were very hardworking people. So I think that created...
But there is also this kind of obsession with education and what education means in terms of status and things like that.
And then the industry of Iran before the Islamic Revolution was heavily German. So German engineers basically built what was to become then the Iranian industry. Still to this day, what they teach in universities in Iran still has a lot of terms that we think is Iranian, but they're actually German. I hear them.
I love this.
And then I'm like, where did this come from? Like, that's a German term. Like, why did we say that? But they're all coming because,
it's all like BASF and Siemens and all those companies. They all had like factories in Iran in the 70s and stuff.
Exactly.
60s and 70s. Yeah.
Hopefully again one day.
Yeah, okay.
One day.
Just in you go. Aren't you?
Well, I think we can slowly start to wrap up, or we're going to do a proper German-style podcast and talk for 4 hours. We're going to
that's just podcast styles now. Okay. That just seems to be the thing.
There's a lot of podcasts that go on for hours and hours. But anyway,
I don't think anyone needs that. Also, they'd need to make Megacanners in bigger sizes.
We need bigger,
and that doesn't seem to be the way that things are going. What is your review of Jack Daniel's and ginger?
It was lovely. I don't even feel the 10% or whatever it is. It is 10%.
I definitely feel the 10%.
Wow.
But I'm glad that you don't.
It is not mega.
The manner born.
Oh no, mega. People think mega refers to the size. Mega refers to the percentage.
Yeah.
Oh, is that
has to be 10% because it was coined by our friend as he was heading out. He was sent out to get drinks for an after party, and he was like, "I'll just get some of those like mega cans because they're such high percentage." Like in the UK, these can only be like 5% because otherwise chaos would reign. Unless it's like
Lindsay.
Marks and Spencer's. Yeah, I'm talking about Lindsay.
And he also designed our website.
He did. We have a website.
Yeah,
people should go on it. That's a good segue to some
.com if you want to look at our website.
Yeah.
Lindsay's work.
Good
not only good at naming cans, but at making
he has
websites.
many skills.
Yeah, good. Anything you wanted to add?
Do I do a call to action?
Yes.
Please,
what can we do?
Please share.
Yeah.
News, talk about it. Like Iranian people in Iran feel like their voice is dying.
Yeah.
And please talk about them. as much as you can, share whatever you can, just like Google what is happening in Iran, talk to friends, send the stuff. If you want to do more, just like send an email to your politician and say, get off your ass and do stuff. The simplest things are going to help because nothing is happening.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
And there are protests happening in Germany and
There
Berlin?
are protests happening across Germany, especially in Berlin. This has been the third week that we had a protest on Kudam, but many more happens. And how can we share that with your
Well, I can put
listeners,
some links
actually?
in the show notes.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I'll put some links. I'll Google around for
We can
demos that
get
you
some
can
stuff up on Instagram.
If
as
you
well.
show up in solidarity, we love it, because every single bit of things that you can do is going to help. I mean, this crackdown has been so horrific, and internet shut off, and communication shut off means like they have no voice. And we really need to become their voice. And yeah, there we
Okay.
go. And this is a bad actor in the world. And I don't say that very easily, because it's very easy to sit in the West and say, oh, that's
Yeah.
a bad actor. And you often end up naming something that isn't really a bad actor, but just in your perspective it is. That's how easy it is to say, oh, Hamas is a terrorist group. And then you sit there and you're like, let me have a look at it from their perspective and see, like,
Where did they come from?
yeah, like how did that happen? Like, what did we do to them that actually happened? Not that they are not doing horrendous things,
Yeah.
but like
Context again
gives you context.
is important.
But this one, I'm telling you the context.
This is
the context.
an
These are the bad
easy,
people.
unproblematic enemy.
If you want to hate somebody, hate these guys and do something about it. Because if you don't, they are showing up at our doorsteps here in Europe. They are already here. They are doing horrible things. I can tell you, Australian ABC News has done a study on this that shows 70% of terrorist acts that happened in Australia in the past 10 years has had a tie to Iran.
Really? Wow.
Easy, simple. Bad stuff happens also in our doorstep is because of those people. They do horrendous things to their own people. Just fucking hate them, not hard.
That's a good
Okay.
note to end on. Mo,
Okay.
thank you so much
Yeah,
thanks for having
all of
me.
this
Brilliant.
and sharing your knowledge as well as your own personal experience. And obviously I hope that you, oh my God, like get to hear from your family. Like I hated not even being able to see my family in the corona pandemic. That nearly broke me. I cannot imagine what it's like to not be able to talk to, like, ugh. Anyway.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Yeah, we'll talk soon.
We will. Bye.
Megacan, German news in English with a cocktail can. The German news, it's quite a test. With Megan's Mega, you're feeling refreshed. Ooh, Megan's Megacan, German news in English with a cocktail can. Deutsche Nachrichten sind düster und schwer. Down the Mega.
Defy the fear.
Yeah.
It's actually it's quite a positive message to give to
think
people.
so.
I like to think that we have quite a positive impact on our listeners.
I hope so.
Because we try and get them to defy the fear of listening to the news all day.
I mean, it's better than reading a German newspaper. Surely.
I would definitely recommend listening to our podcast more than reading any German newspaper.
German newspapers barely have pictures.
Yeah.
Like fucking, it's just a brick of text.
Oh yeah,
It's
and they seem to
awful.
make a virtue of it. They think it's like so great to have no
Not like you Americans
pictures.
with your fucking
colour pictures.
decadent pictures in
I
your
know.
newspapers.
Yeah,
What's
but-
that? A crossword puzzle? Oh, no
You have
wonder
to-
you had Trump. Jesus Christ, everyone! Like, there's a middle ground.
You have to concentrate on the news. It's very important, and you have to like keep it there.
Just have a mega.
Have a mega. Give us a picture every now and then.
Just a
and-
wee picture, maybe of,
Yeah.
a diagram.